Hi guys, sorry I haven't been finishing my story. For those who followed me, I appreciate it. For those who are watching now, I appreciate it. And like I said in my videos, I have terminal cancer. I don't know how much time I have, but I'm pretty sure it's coming soon. That's why I'm doing this now. The last couple of weeks have not been good for me, and it's just getting worse every day. But anyway, I was born in 1962 in a little town called Crystal Beach, Ontario, which is south of Niagara Falls, Ontario, on Lake Erie. We're, I'd say, about 20 kilometers from the mouth of the Niagara River, where we grew up. Anyway, we grew up in a town with an amusement park. It had been there but it finally closed in 1989. It had been there for 101 years in operation. But that's what kind of town I grew up in. But I'll start out with some of my earliest memories growing up. Was my very first memory I can think of is I had to be a toddler just learning walking because I was coming out of the kitchen in this darkened kitchen to walk into the living room, and there was a big, impressive, like giant man blocking my view, and he kind of scared me because I wasn't sure who he was, and it turned out to be the man. I carry his last name. He's not my real father, but he thought he was. Anyway, Howard was his name. A few other memories I have growing up was I can remember sitting in the kitchen with a bowl on my head getting a haircut. Believe it or not, people used to do that, folks. But when I came into the family, I had at that time 3 older brothers, 2 older sisters. And then I was born, and then I always remember I did have a baby sister when I can remember about 5 years old. I can remember having a baby sister, Pamela, and I believe my mom was, might have been pregnant with my other sister, Deborah. Anyway, they're all my stepbrothers and sisters because there's 6 fathers to 9 children, okay, and there's also 2 mothers involved in the end of this saga I'm going to tell you about. But yeah, I grew up, like I said, in an amusement town. So on my block there was in behind us was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 homes, and then on our side there was 1, 2, 3, 4 homes with 1, 2 on the side. There was no 1 on the side, so approximately 9 homes anyway. In our neighborhood. Well, during the winter, there was only, on my street, Inglewood, there was only 4 permanent residents, and in behind us was cottages. One was Mr. Campbell. I can remember him. He had a big 2-story house. We didn't see him very much. Just once in a while, he would come over when I was a child. But beside him was, I called him Uncle Donnie and Aunt Millie Walker, and they had children. They had Donnie and Bobby and Jimmy, which I got along with great. I still, to this day, at 62 years old, still talk to Bobby. Sad to say, some people have passed away in that time, and but yeah, he was Uncle Donnie was an awesome man. He knew the struggles we were going through. He's the only one that got a photograph of myself as a child, as a toddler, which I was very happy to get. But he was a nice man. Every time we saw him in the summer, I'd always love to go see Uncle Donnie. And not just because one of his little quirks was he usually put 2 quarters in his hand when he shook your hand, and he would flip so the quarters would fall in your hand, and you had to fold your hand so his Aunt Millie wouldn't catch him. Because Aunt Millie used to yell at him all the time, "Stop giving him money," But I loved Aunt Millie. She loved me. Next to that was, I used to call Aunt Gertrude Cronin, and her oldest son Tommy, and it was Patrick and Dan, and Michael and Mary, and Tom. He was the oldest. He was disabled in bed. Nice guy. I used to sit with him and talk to him. I always went to see Aunt Gertrude and Aunt Millie every time I was in the beach after I got older. Even when I was married, I would live in Florida. I would come up and I'd always make a stop to see Aunt Gertrude and Aunt Millie until they passed away. And yeah, but yeah, another memory I had growing up was when I believe it was my 6th or 7th birthday. Now, mind you, like I said, my mom was raising us kids pretty much alone, so she had her hands full with 7 of us at that time. I'm thinking 7, possibly 8, I don't know. But it was my birthday, and we used to call this gentleman next door, his name was Sumbler. We used to call him Grandpa Sumbler. He was a grumpy old man, but he had a heart of gold at times. We used to piss him off, but we were kids, right? But he gave me a bag of marbles, and my mom put them on the table and told me they were my birthday gift, but she wasn't going to give them to me because they're dangerous. So I never knew what happened to them, but I never did get that birthday present. That was part of growing up. The disappointment always came. Like, why show it to me? Why not just get rid of it? Why torture me with a gift when I don't get very many gifts? I don't get much, Mom struggled. So I thought it was kind of mean. I would have shared with my brothers or sisters if they wanted to play marbles with me. It wouldn't have been a problem. But, and it was tough growing up. It really was. But my next traumatic incident, I was in bed. It was late at night. I was approximately 8, maybe 9. I'm not really sure of the age I was. But I got woke up at late. God knows what time it was, and I had to go to school the next day. That's all I remember. And my mom dragged me out of bed late at night out into the front porch area. And we had a tiny house, and my sister slept in the front porch. So anyway, there was a man standing at the door whom I knew because I've spent time at his house. Jimmy was my friend, his son. And I'd spend time there with his children. And my mom yelled at me, "This is your effing father. Do you want to go live with him?" And it was like, what? I knew Howard as my father, not Ted. Ted was my friend's brother, my friend's dad. So it was kind of a shocker. But she denied for years that she ever did that. But that was traumatic enough, and that's when I started to act out, is what I'm going to say. I started to become an idiot. I admit it. I was not the best. But under those circumstances, and nobody talked to me about stuff like that, ever. Part of growing up in Crystal Beach in that little house, too, was hunger, a lot of hunger. It was tough. I can remember going to school with just 2 slices of bread with sometimes ketchup, once in a while bologna, a slice of cheese. It's just whatever my mom had that she could give us. It was never enough food. And one of my funniest memories, and I don't know if my sisters would remember it, the one sister's passed away, God rest her soul, but my sister Cheryl Vanessa would take Mark and I's doorknob off. I shared a room with the four boys. It was myself, Mark, Terry, and Barry. We used to share a room. We had bunk beds. But when Mom left to go out to party, she would leave Cheryl and Vanessa in charge. Well, they'd take our doorknob and make donuts for themselves and watch TV or whatever, play music or have boys over. We never do. But the one night they were yelling, "Fire, fire, fire!" So Mark, being the smart guy he is, he takes out the bedroom window and helps me out. I'm in my underwear. He's in his underwear. It's middle of winter. So we run through the snow to my aunt's house to tell her what's going on, and we go back and find out that's what they were doing. They were making their own little brown donuts, and they set the grease on fire. So, that's what they get for locking us out and not giving us any food, right? So it's just, but I love everybody. I just don't get along with them because everybody is my stepbrother. They ended up a lot of us. So anyway, to go on with the story about Ted, the man I met years later, his wife died in 1969. I remember that. May. She was very nice when I met her. I do remember her very well. And then shortly after, my mother dumped us kids off at different family members for a couple of weeks while she made plans to get the tenants out from upstairs where my real father lived until we could move in there. And we ended up all moving in there, and he had 4 boys. So we ended up with 13 kids in that house. Travis was born out sometime either after we moved in or before. I'm not quite sure. The little snot of the family, But once we all moved in together, that's when my abuse from both parents and other brothers would start, calling me stupid and lying about me a lot. If I defended myself for them starting something, it was my fault. I got the beatings. My brother Mark actually came to see my dad with my feet off the ground by the throat, cocking up to punch me in the face, and I was only, I think, 13 at the time, and it was because of James. James started with me. I defended myself, and I broke a shovel over his back. Yeah, granted, I shouldn't have hit him with the shovel, but you know, I was at that point. I was tired of getting picked on. You can only take so much, so. But Mark came in and made Ted put me down. He was gonna cold cock me, like, you know, and that's the way it was. I mean, the abuse I used to take. Like another story, at Christmas, my parents bought me a special racetrack I begged for. I finally got something I wanted. It was a racetrack that went up the wall. The cars were magnetic to it. It did a U up the wall. So I just got it set up, and I was ready to play when James again tromped through it because he didn't get what he wanted, and he destroyed my game. So we started fighting, and all I remember is we were in the middle of the floor of fisticuffs when Dad and Mom came upstairs and yelled. Mom's yelling, "Stop that man!" And that's when Dad said, "No, let him go. Boys will be boys." So okay, so Jimmy and I, we fought it out. It was, I think that was the only fight him and I ever had in those years. But yeah, I wasn't the greatest a child, but I had a lot going on in my head. I mean, think about that. It was rough. It was really rough growing up. And I'm not making excuses. There are no excuses. I mean, I did bad in school because nobody cared. I mean, nobody did. I remember doing a school play, a Christmas play. I was in, Twas the Night Before Christmas, doing it live on the stage, and I looked in the audience and no parents. Nobody. You know? So how do you get over that? That's the way it was. Like, there was no, I don't think I ever heard "I love you." I honestly don't. From my mother, ever. Or my father. So what do you do? But anyway, that's just the start of my story. I'll get into a few more things as we progress in my age. So I'm just giving you a little taste of what's going on. Thank you for listening. Yeah, if you have any questions, you can ask me a question. I'm not going to lie about it, you know. But I love everybody, and I'm hoping to finish my stories before the cancer takes me. Let's hope and pray. But it is progressing pretty bad. But thank you again for listening. I appreciate it.